Hello and welcome to another one of our Equip 30-minute live webcasts. Thanks for joining me in this series. This is one of our 30-minute live webcasts that we have put on this year. We started out earlier this year kicking off our Equip sessions, talking about the state of the workforce. And I have looked at the demographics, what's going on demographically in the workforce today, how things have changed, especially over the last 5 years or so as we have moved into somewhat of an economic recovery. So if you missed that one, let me know. We can go over the details of those statistics. And then we also have talked about one of the top concerns of chief executive officers and other C-level executives, as well as HR directors and HR executives. That's data that comes from Gallup polls. SurveyMonkey has done polls on these, and of course, SHRM, or the Society of Human Resource Management. And we're really looking at one of their top concerns is still the leadership gap. Where is the next succession of leaders coming from within or from outside of the organization? And as part of that, we looked at the hiring right, how to benchmark and hire correctly. So hopefully now that you've kind of hired right and have benchmarked correctly, and you've used some of the tips that we've put in our Equip 3 webcasts, and if you're not familiar with those, let me show you those here real briefly. Weekly, we put together some short videos, 3-minute webcast. This is, of course, our Equip 30, our 30-minute webcast. And then we have a series of 3-minute videos. You just go to our homepage, etindy.com, and click on the banner in the upper right-hand corner that says Free Equip Series, and then you'll see me. Even though you don't see me on this one, that is the video. I'm James Ryan, talking to you right now. And as you scroll down, there is a series of 3-minute webcasts that we want you to be able to access at will whenever you just need a break, or right before a management meeting and you need something to talk about with your employees besides just the same old policies and procedure updates. Here are some topics that can help you, whether you discuss them with your team or use them for yourself or not, to just really have a better working experience this week, this month. So stay tuned for future Equip 30 webcasts, our monthly webcasts, but also come back often to our Equip page for our 3-minute webcasts. Today, we're looking at what happens once you've hired right, you've done a really good benchmark, you've recruited and assessed and hired correctly to put the right person in the right job, or, one way or the other, you think you've got the right people in the right job. Now, how do you retain them? How do you keep them engaged and moving forward? And I want to focus on using the performance improvement plan as a part of that. We have to kind of think about what normally happens in the mind of our employees when we say performance improvement plan. Fear, right? Most people, when they hear that, they think, oh no, that's one foot out the door. This is my last gasp before I am put on probation, or maybe I'm already on probation. Some organizations might call it a corrective action plan, and that's okay too, but I do find that performance improvement plan is out there quite a bit, and there's that negative connotation with it. I came up out of operations and then got into training kind of late in my career, mid-career, about 10 years ago. So when I first came into the training department of a large national organization, and the learning and development manager said, okay, James, we've got to put you on a performance improvement plan, I felt that initial tinge of fear. What's going on? What's he talking about here? Why am I on a performance improvement plan? And of course, we were the performance improvement department. So it started to make sense as I learned more and more about the performance improvement department and what we wanted to do with continuous improvement. Those of you in manufacturing, you talk about continuous improvement, continuous quality improvement, continuous process improvement. Sometimes we don't talk about that if we deal on more service-oriented industries or government or nonprofit organizations. But continuous improvement should be a part of all of our plans, a part of all of our strategies, right? The whole idea of going from good to great. So whatever you call it, many organizations now are moving to something called maybe a professional development plan, or they're calling it a talent development plan, or merely just learning paths. Every employee should be on a learning path or a professional development plan. Or if it doesn't have a negative connotation, great, a performance improvement plan. But if it has a negative connotation, we want to start moving beyond that negativity and moving into something much more positive. So why do we want to do that? What are the main drivers of having a performance improvement plan and reducing our turnover? Most of you, or many of you, are aware of the costs involved with turnover, especially if you are in the recruiting or human resource area. But I find that many mid-level and senior level managers don't even necessarily have a good handle on some of these costs. So let's go through some of the costs of turnover. Severance is kind of an obvious cost. If we have to give them 30 days, 60 days, 90 days severance pay as part of a package, or even if it's a couple of weeks, there could be some hard money costs due to that. Unseen costs could potentially even be unemployment insurance increases. Shouldn't impact it, but it could. Even just paying out their accrued vacation and accrued PTO and that type of thing could potentially be a part of that severance costs. Then, of course, on the flip side of it, on the front side, we've got the recruiting costs. How much did it cost us to recruit that employee up front? How much is it going to cost us to recruit the next one? Many estimates start out by saying it's going to be about 20 to 25% of a worker's salary to recruit and hire that person. And that's on the low end. That's for those people that you can recruit and fill a job easily. On the high end, it could be 100% of the salary or up to $150,000. So on the higher end of hiring and recruiting, we all know that recruiting costs could be very, very expensive, especially in those competitive environments where people are highly recruited. If you're in the tech field, certain sales organizations, very, very competitive, and a lot of recruiting of the competitors' employees going on. The next area to look at is the onboarding. And we definitely think about onboarding in the fact that, okay, that's 2 days that they're going to go to corporate and have their employee orientation. That's 3 days. Sometimes it's a week or 2 weeks. For some organizations, there's a lot of onboarding training that's kind of built in to that particular job function. And that could be a month or 6 weeks of training and onboarding. But how many of you have actually dollarized that? Okay, it's cost me 2 days to send them to corporate. Of course, you know what the travel costs are because those hit your bottom line, but are you adding in their salary, their benefits, all of that? The loss of productivity on the other side. We're getting rid of an employee, we're bringing a new one on. Even just during the onboarding time, how much is that costing in terms of productivity? Not to mention the other opportunities costs that we'll get to here in a second. The next area of costs to look at is your administrative costs. Think about it. Just processing the I-9, the W-4s, getting all that together, putting together the new employee package, setting up an email account, setting up, getting their desk ready, all of those kinds of costs that they're out there and they're kind of small, but they really add up. So a lot of administrative costs when somebody leaves the company and we have to bring somebody else in. And then what are the opportunity costs? What could we be doing as managers who now have to hire, as employees who could be focused on something else rather than being onboarded and finding their way around the company? What could we be working on? What could we be strategizing? What could be the bigger picture that we may be losing because of the time it's taken to onboard a new employee, to recruit, hire, all of that. The managers could be doing so much more during that time. Think about also now how the turnover impacts your culture as perceived by job seekers. So how are you known out there in the job seeking world? If I were to come apply to work at your company, are you known as an organization that fires easily? Lots of turnover, we just get rid of it. You can't make it, you're out of here. You can't make it, you're out of here. There may not be anything wrong with that necessarily if that's your culture and that is your model. Just be sure to own that and make sure people understand that, because that will impact your retention after they are hired, and that will impact their engagement, and that will impact their performance improvement plan. So I'm not necessarily saying this is a bad way to go. Many organizations are built this way because they know there's going to be turnover. A certain amount of people can't keep up with the pace, aren't change oriented. On the flip side of that, there definitely are ways to hire right and reduce that amount of turnover. Or alternatively, are you getting a reputation as an organization that tolerates poor performance? You're slow to fire. Oh, we've got those folks who've worked here for a long time. They've never really been written up. They've never really been, they're kind of even some of those bad apples, and yet we still have them around, still have them on the books. Those types of things will get out into the workforce, and you could be developing a reputation as an organization that maybe either fires easily or tolerates poor performance. Or alternatively, and hopefully, you are an organization that is known for coaching, continuous improvement, and helping employees excel. That's where we want to really get to. We want to get to that particular side so that we can attract the right employees, we can make sure they fit the job, and then we can put them on the right performance improvement plan, the right professional development plan to help them succeed. There's definitely some financial impacts to this, because as we look at what employees are looking for when it comes to retention, what helps them stay at the job, recent information from Deloitte that was published in their Talent Edge 2020 report says that the major retention incentives are advancement and promotion. The people are looking for those advancement and promotion opportunities. The next one that showed up, this is in order, top to bottom in terms of the rankings. First one is advancement and promotion. The second was compensation. Definitely people are looking for the right compensation or to have the compensation increases down the road. That helps with retention. Next was other types of financial incentives. So in addition to compensation or other than compensation, there may be looking for some bonuses, other types of perks that go along with the job that can be represented in terms of financial commitment. So ETI, we can't really help too much with your compensation and bonus type structures. It's not really our wheelhouse, but we can help with the first and the last. And the last one is the support and recognition from their managers. A major factor, the fourth major factor for retention, as expressed by employees, is support and recognition from their managers. So looking for the advancement opportunities, if those are available, and then how do you give that support and recognition from the manager? Now, with this said, the generational differences also influence these retention incentives. Gen Xers, more so, are looking for that career progress. Gen Xers now that are hitting 50 are looking for that career progress, while the millennials, the older millennials hitting their 30s, they're looking for that culture. Culture is important to them, especially the younger millennials as well in their 20s. They're looking for that culture that is responsible and fun. So those are some things that can really impact the attitude of your employees and how they view whether or not they will stay with your organization. In one of our earlier webcasts, we noted that a full 65% of employees are actively engaged in the job search. And that just means that they go out to job websites, they click on a job link on LinkedIn, that they're from time to time searching for jobs, 65%. And 33% fully expect to make a change, they fully expect to make a job change within 1 year. So we've really got to focus on this retention because of the cost of turnover. And these are some factors that can impact that. How do we get that support and recognition as employees? That's where the performance improvement plan comes into play. How do we impact that culture that the millennials are looking for? That's where the performance improvement plan comes into play. If we have a focus on continuous improvement, then we have that culture that is responsible at least to the employees, hopefully some fun built in. And if we have that continuous improvement plan, we have the need or the recognition that people want to feel like they are being advanced in their career. And the performance improvement plan can certainly do that. But first we have to address the fear, which I mentioned at the start of the webcast. When we say a performance improvement plan, people think that they're in trouble. So as we move into professional development plans, talent management plans, we have to address the fear that, oh, they think that I don't know enough. That's the employee's attitude. Oh, I don't know enough. I should know it all by now, especially if you're talking about somebody in their 30s, 40s, 50s, our Xers and our older millennials. So we've got to start overcoming that and letting everybody know that it's okay to learn, to be on a continuous learning path. Start by being positive. It's a positive thing. Let's talk about performance improvement as a positive thing. It's not one foot out the door and you're almost done. It's not just a corrective action plan only when you're in trouble. When we teach coaching not just to correct bad performance, but how to coach somebody into advancement, how to coach somebody into that next highest level. So we can take a positive approach to it. It doesn't have to be just a corrective action. Now, of course, we've got to actually develop the plan. So to develop the learning path or the learning plan, hopefully your manager is involved. But if you're here on this webcast as an individual contributor, that's okay. You can begin that process yourself. So you want to start that process by doing just a self-assessment. Be proactive and assess yourself. Not necessarily going out and taking an online assessment or anything like that, but just thinking about, given the key accountabilities for my current job, what do I need to learn? Am I fulfilling it competently? And more than competently, am I fulfilling it excellently? And if not, where do I have to go? What do I have to do to get excellent for my current job, my current accountabilities? Then I have to think, what do I need for the future? Where do I want to go? What type of position do I want to have a few years from now? And now what do I have to learn in order to be excellent at those accountabilities? What kinds of learning is going to have to take place? So you can do that self-assessment and then go to your manager and say, this is how I feel, this is what we're looking at. And be prepared to make that business case to say, this is why you should invest $500, $1,000, $5,000 in my education. Of course, we want you to invest a lot, right? That's what we do here at ETI. But really, think about, why not invest 5% of what our annual income is, our annual salary? Why not invest 10%? What is that number? If we're not investing in our employees, then the old saying goes, what if we invest in training and our employees leave? On the flip side of that is, what if we don't invest in them and they stay? You're going to always stay at that mediocre position. So to develop a plan, hopefully with your manager, if not with your manager, then on your own. Meet with the manager. Sometimes the manager does a plan, you do one, you can compare the two, get input from your peers. Why not? If you don't have the kind of relationship with your peers where you can go and ask them what they think you're where you're lacking, what you need to make up, pay attention really closely to what kind of ticks them off. What do you do that kind of frustrates them? And that may be something then as a learning opportunity for you, a development plan for you. So for me, I know that sometimes when I write emails very fast, very quickly, I get a lot of frustration on the other end from my internal team members because I think they know what I mean, but it just doesn't come out that way in email. So I know that email writing is something I've got to think about and really focus on. Another way of figuring out what should go into the plan are, of course, assessments, formal assessments. You can look at the competencies. You can assess for certain competencies, whether that be hard competencies like Microsoft Office skills, Adobe skills, programming skills, manufacturing skills, or whether those be soft competencies like interpersonal communication, strategic thinking, and those kinds of soft competencies. You want to look at maybe behaviors. How do I behave? How do others behave? And how do we adapt for that? Emotional intelligence, especially for management and upper level management. How am I on emotional intelligence? How do I handle stress, etc.? Many different types of assessments could be out there. And then do the learning. Schedule and actually do the learning. And of course, we'd love you to come to ETI to do that. But most of you have internal learning processes, or you're on this call because maybe we complement some of your internal learning processes. So either way, you are going to have to do that learning. But remember, the learning event itself is only a piece of the pie. A rule of thumb to think about when we talk about adult learning is that really 25% of the learning should take place before the workshop. About 25% of the learning will take place in the workshop. So before the workshop, we're going to be doing some self-assessments. We're going to be thinking, we're laying the groundwork for learning. And in that process, we really are learning. When we go to the workshop and somebody actually delivers the information, the knowledge that we want to get to. But then where do we really ingrain that learning? Where do we really make it our own? That's out on the job. So a full 50% of the learning happens after the workshop. And that's why so many times here at ETI, we include follow-through coaching, where we're going to talk to the participants several times, sometimes many times, sometimes up to a year afterwards, to make sure that they are doing the behaviors and implementing the knowledge in order to make the learning really count. So think about how you are going to do that. If you're a manager with direct reports and you're authorizing people to attend a learning event, how are you going to manage and reinforce the learning when they come back? When they come back from ETI, how are you going to do that out in the workplace? On the job is where it's really going to happen after the fact. So I hope you have a good understanding now of how being on a performance improvement plan can really help with retention. If people are continually learning and continually having that learning reinforced by their manager, they're going to feel that support. They're going to feel that interest from their manager, so that they know that they can feel like as if So they know that they can feel that their manager is behind them, is interested in some kind of advancement, whether that means a promotion or not. Remember, it's just advancement. They want to feel like they are advancing in their career. And then you're going to have much more engaged employees who complain less, who are less likely to be in that continual job search, and who will stick with you for the long haul. Thanks for being with me today. I look forward to having you on our next eQuip 30. Watch for the emails coming out of the house, and watch for our weekly eQuip 3 videos. Thank you very much. Go out and have a great day.